itself to the vision of the founder. We are truly honored to have in our midst today very esteemed and distinguished educationists who are all going to share their insights with us on a topic that is of immense importance to us today, namely engaging our students in meaningful learning in the pandemic hit world. We are honored to have with us Dr. Sanjay Deshmukh, the former Vice Chancellor of Mumbai University. We also have with us Dr. Manju Nichani, the former Principal of KC College, Mumbai, who is currently the Rector of Sadhu Vaswani Institutes of Learning. We have with us Didi Krishna Kumari, who is the working chairperson of Sadhu Vaswani Mission. And we have with us the heads of all the educational institutions under the banner of Sadhu Vaswani Mission, and our students and parents who are watching live on Facebook. At this point of time, I would like to request everyone to please mute their mics. There are beings who come into this world and into our lives, and suddenly time has no significance because they leave such lasting memories on our minds and hearts that time cannot erase them. Dada J.P. Vaswani was one such being. He taught, as did his revered master, that education should train us to feel from the head and to think from the heart. What better way than to start to initiate today's web discussion than with the opening remarks of revered Dada J.P. Vaswani himself. We will listen to his recorded video.
Friends, as I have moved from place to place, as I have traveled from country to country, it has seemed to me that the one urgent, the one piteous need of India and the nations is an education of a new type. Today, schools and colleges and universities are multiplying. But what we need are centers of new education, an education which may teach the students how to live in the right way. We teach our students a number of subjects. We teach them languages, we teach them literature, we teach them history, geography, mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, microbiology, sociology, psychology, computer science, and a host of other subjects. But we do not teach them how to live in the right way. Our education, current education, has failed miserably because its emphasis is on words. Words can at best develop the minds of pupils. Today brain power has been developed. Science is marching on. Technological progress has been made. But the problems that are before India and the nations, they will not be solved by the developed brain alone. Illumined hearts are needed. Awakened hearts are needed. We need to teach our students how with the grace of God they can control their temper, how they can develop their imagination, so that it does not weaken them but makes them strong. How they may develop their willpower and dedicate it to the service of humanity. How they can regard all life as sacred. How they can grow in the altruistic spirit, the spirit of living for others. How they can grow in the spirit of reverence, for is not reverence the very secret of true education? The English poet well sang, "Let knowledge grow from more to more, but more of reverence in us dwell." Friends, the Mira movement is an experiment in new education. In the Mira institutions, though, an effort is being made to train students so that they show excellent results at the board and university examinations, our emphasis is on other things. Our emphasis is on these 5 things. I love to call them the 5 fingers of the Mira movement. Firstly, our emphasis is on character building. Is not character the one urgent, the one piteous need of India today? For lack of men and women of character in politics and in other spheres of activity, India could be the very first of the nations. India could be a leader of the nations. What is needed is character. Character conquers confusion, said Galsworthy. Secondly, our emphasis is on seva, service of the poor and broken ones, the handicapped and the halt, the homeless and the hopeless ones. And in the third place, our emphasis is on love of the Indian ideal. While modern scientific knowledge is passed on to the students, they are being told that they must not forget India's ancient wisdom. It is in a blend of these two, modern scientific knowledge and India's ancient wisdom, that we have the hope of the future. Fourthly, our emphasis is on a reverence for all life. Creation is one family, and in this one family of creation, birds and animals are man's younger brothers and sisters. It is the duty of man to share the love of his heart with his younger brothers and sisters. It is the responsibility of man to save his younger brothers and sisters from the cruel knife of the butcher. In the fifth place, our emphasis is on cultivation of the soul. Our revered founder, Sadhu Vaswani, repeatedly said to us, the noblest work is to cultivate the soul. Students are taught to observe silence every day. They are taught to make God the center of their lives. What can education without God achieve? It can at best touch the superficies of life. Of an American explorer, it is said that in one of his explorations he came across a cannibal chief. And he put to him this question. He said to him, "You have studied in an American university. How can you continue to eat human flesh?" The cannibal chief smiled as he said, "Yes, I eat human flesh, but now I eat it with a fork and a knife." Education without God, what can it achieve? It can at best touch the superficies of life. It cannot touch the depths within. My time has traveled fast. Let me close with an incident from the life of the great Greek lawgiver Solon. One day, Solon appeared before the people carrying in his hand a rotten apple. He showed the apple to the people and he said to them, "Is there a way of regenerating this apple, of making it new and luscious?" The people looked at each other, they wondered, they could not give an answer. Then Solon said, "There is a way of regenerating this apple." He cut the apple into 4 parts, took out the seeds. He said, "I shall sow these seeds, and out of these seeds will come new apples." He said further, "The children are the seeds of humanity. If you wish to build a new humanity, you must begin with a child. And I say to you, if you would wish to build a new India, an India of the truly strong and free, an India that may proceed on a mission of health and healing to the nations of the East and the nations of the West, an India that may press on to a new dynamic march of her own genius, her eternal destiny, you must begin with the child. Begin with the child. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti."
Abhradita here, ma'am. The lights have gone at Principal Ma'am's place. So she has got disconnected. So she will try and connect in few minutes, or then she will direct what to do.
Good morning, friends. Things happen as God wills. It was the privilege of Dr. Gulshan Gidwani to introduce Dr. Sanjay Deshmukh. For me to introduce him is very difficult because for me, I just say he's a friend, he's a mentor, he's a guide, but he's far more than that. I do have a written biodata of his, but let me tell you that any education system cannot be completed unless it has a vision. And Dr. Sanjay Deshmukh is a visionary. He sees far beyond times. One of the youngest vice chancellor of the biggest university, the University of Mumbai. He worked very hard to bring in change. And yet the other quality of his, which really enamors you, is his humility. I, at a personal level, can tell you that even when he was a vice chancellor, whenever I told him, "Sir, I'll come and meet you," he used to say, no, I will come and see you. And without any inhibition, he came home. He came to my office. That is Dr. Deshmukh PU, who does not believe in protocols. He could have said, no, I have no time. You come. He could make you wait. But he was far above that. And who could be better to pay a tribute to Dada? Uh, because Dada's basic one thing which he admired was humility, and Dr. Deshmukh has it all. Dr. Deshmukh, I understand, is recognized as a PhD guy for 5 different fields. I think he is one of the India's widely acknowledged life scientists and also an academic thought leader in higher education. Currently, he's a professor of life sciences at University of Mumbai. He served as the youngest ever 55th Vice Chancellor of 162-year-old university, which has 800 affiliated colleges and 8 lakhs of students. He brought transparency in the system and built global best practices with the view on skilling and increasing employability. He's a great researcher, and his leadership he has strong leadership qualities in the global environment and development issues. He has a proven track record in resource mobilization. They say that unless you don't bring in resources, you cannot do research. He is a man He's a man who is great in resource mobilization. He has alliances in building and fundraising, and he has raised over 550 crores development grants for implementation of Mumbai University. I repeat, 550 crores out of and generated grants close to 170 millions for personal research, for his own research for the university. So you can understand what a great researcher he is. I think I can go on. He has received many, many awards. He was the president of an NGO called Konkan Nisarg March, and we can go on. He doesn't need anything. What I can tell you that he's a great friend, he's a great philosopher, a great guide, and he has guided many students. And it is for you now, sir, to tell us your vision on how you put Dada's teachings into education. Welcome to you, sir. Please do join us at the moment. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Madam Nichani. It's a great honor to be with all of you today, this morning. Not only to be with you, but also to share what I learned from the teachings of Dada. Though I was not as fortunate as all of you who have had a privilege of being with him, imbibing his vision, as well as implementation of his visionary ideas for betterment of society. Nevertheless, I was definitely very fortunate that I had an opportunity to meet Dada once, but for more than an hour. And thanks to Manju Madam that this was made possible. What I learned from Dada, of course, will come subsequently during what I would like to present before you as a part of my impressions. But what we heard a while ago, what Dada said, and what Dada believed in a country like India, who has a long history of education and also imbibing of knowledge for providing path to the entire world, is something that he has reiterated. And surely so, a country like India has had the first university in the world established about 7 centuries AD, BC, I'm sorry. And universities like Takshashila or Nalanda have had a great contribution in the wisdom that prevails today in not only our part of the world, but also in the Western world. And therefore, when we are talking about Dada's vision of education and its relevance of education in today's time, I feel a great privilege for me to be with you and share some of the learnings that I have had from what I have read, written by Dada, from what I have listened, from what Dada has said, and from his implementation of ideas and the grassroots level work that has been undertaken by himself, and the institutions. In today's meeting, we have with us Dr. Manju Madam, who is a rector of the Sadhu Vaswani Institutes of Learning. We have revered Didi Krishna Kumari, who is the working chairperson of Sadhu Vaswani Mission. We also have with us Honorable Principal Dr. Gulshan Gidwani, who is St. Mira's College of Girls, Pune. And along with her, we have several principals, several teachers, and their non-teaching colleagues, the children, the students, and the various invitees for this important discussion of relevance of Dada's vision in today's education. At the outset, I would like to congratulate St. Mira's College, about which we heard briefly from Madam Gidwani, but I also read about it recently, precisely on 6th of July, when I was able to glance at India Today's issue, which says that St. Mira's College has been rated as per their independent ranking based on several academic and administrative leadership parameters. And it says that it is among the top 10 emerging colleges of the century. I think it's a great tribute to the memory and contribution of Dada, who not only gave a leadership to this very college, probably between 1962 and 1975, but then the vision that he imbibed from his guru, uh, Vaswani Guruji himself, I think that vision continues to scale heights. What I understand is that with only 2 paisa in pocket, Dada's Guru envisioned a future of India, and nobody believed that vision can come into reality. But it has come into reality today. And I feel through Dada and through his various leaders, I would not call them disciples, but they're leaders. And that was a true quality of Dada, who created leaders and not disciples like many leaders that we see today. And the most important aspect that we have to understand about Dada is he was a scientist, and he became a spiritual master by choice. He was a physicist, and as a physicist, he conducted research on refraction of light. When I was interacting with him in one of my soul meetings with him, he told me that he was a student of physics, and during his master's, he worked on this refraction of light technology. And his thesis was sent to none other than Sir C.V. Raman for evaluation. And you can imagine the commendable work that he did was also commended by Sir C.V. Raman, who suggested that he should go for further education. But Dada had his vision very clear. He wanted to work and apply his vision for the humanity. And therefore, probably he reflected rather than refracting light on which he worked, he reflected that light within, which he got and imbibed from his guru. And therefore, Sadhu Vaswaniji's mission, imbibed by Dada, has culminated into a huge conglomeration of not only education institutions, but the service that they offer to the mankind by the teachings of Dada. And therefore, we have to understand what Dada used to always say. He was one of the rare individuals, I remember, he wouldn't allow people to touch his feet, which was a very, very rare quality. And he used to say that I am not a guru, but I am disciple of all. What a great statement that he has made. He used to say that I am learning from everybody, so you don't call me a guru. And pray to the master or the supreme who takes care of all of us. I think that was a very unique statement that I heard from Dada at that point of time. And therefore, when we talk about Dada, his vision, he definitely was a person who believed in true love. And I feel he said that, the true love is sacrifice. Don't consider love as something which you just imbibe and keep on accumulating. But you have to disseminate that. And you basically define love, which is in giving, not in taking. It is in losing and not in gaining. I think what a wonderful thinking and thought process Dada had. And he also said, love is in realizing and not in possessing that we love. I think a vision, the statement that he made, the implementation of his ideas, they are just beyond our imagination. He was truly a visionary ahead of his time. And therefore, when we are talking about the education that we are imparting to students today, in a vast country like India, which is considered as the youngest nation in the world, with almost 55% of its population below the age of 35, we have tremendous opportunities to lead the world. And in the next few years' time, when there will be millions of jobs going away because of the pandemic situation that has arisen in the last few months' time, we were hoping for training our children to take challenges of creation of jobs that are going to happen in the world within 3 to 4 years time. But the situation has drastically changed, and therefore, as Dada used to always say, that we will have to envision a new type of education which will touch the life of students, and therefore the life which is not really required by just gaining knowledge, but we'll have to look at the science which is marching on the problems uh, of India and the nations, which are not going to be solved unless we will be able to apply that science for the betterment of society. And that application of science comes from illumination of hearts. It doesn't come from just a formal education. Like Swami Vivekananda, Dada used to always say that the education will build your character and make you stand on your own feet, and you will be able to have a clarity of thoughts, and you will be able to face the challenges that will be posed upon you as you take formal education. And therefore, students of tomorrow will have to be taught that the life is larger than education. We'll have to really look at that. Dada, in his brief address that will all of us listen, talked about five most important ingredients. And as I remember, their character building, love for the Indian ideals, reverence of all life, cultivation of the soul, and yes, seva, the service that he should offer based on the knowledge gained. I think the amalgamation of abilities of comprehension, communication, and analysis is what Dada felt is the future of Indian youth and youth as a whole in the world. And probably the true education that he implemented was basically a vision that he provided to the world today in the last decade when we are in the 21st century. We have all our regulatory authorities of Government of India like UGC, AICT, that is All India Council for Technical Education. They're all talking about imbibing these ideas which were inculcated by Dada himself. And all of them are today talking about developing life skills or creation of skills, creation of physical education and experiential education, which Dada had said 4 decades before today. And that is now becoming a reality where the world wants to go by the philosophy that Dada developed and disseminated through his knowledge, abilities, and application of mind. And therefore, as he just now said in his speech, that brain is not just a data of bank. We will have to apply that brain towards making humanity a better world, with which you have to understand that we are only one species out of 17 lakh species on this planet. But the number with which we are growing, we have touched 7th billion mark today. And in India, even though we boast ourselves as the youngest nation, 93% of our graduates are not in a position to go for post graduation just because they are not having economic base, economic ability with their parents. And therefore, the relevance of education with respect to Dada's teachings and implementation of his ideas, I would like to just make a comparison of universities because I have had the privilege to lead or be a guardian of Mumbai University and several colleges, more than 800 in number. I used to know most of the principals personally, and one of my inspirations has been Dr. Manju Madam, and she also spoke so passionately about me by giving an introduction of mine to all of you. what I learned from people like Dr. Manju Madam, who has been an ardent disciple of Dada, is that you will have to not only create leaders, but the institutions also should become leaders. And her contribution for over 40 years to the HSNC Collegium Board by way of leading the KC College, one of our flagship colleges, has culminated into creation of a new university. And I think on 11th of June this year, her dream of making this college a university came into reality. And HSNC University, as it is now known, has now going to be on the horizon of Indian education. And I'm sure with the vision that Dada envisioned, the university will really make a big mark in the field of higher education, not only in India but also abroad. So I come back to the university education which we envisioned 50 years back, and we used to talk about creation by way of creation of knowledge, or preservation by way of providing repository of knowledge, and dissemination of knowledge by way of teaching and publishing. But as Dada envisioned a new way of education, now we realize that the creation will not be just creation of knowledge, but research and innovation. Dada always said that you apply your knowledge and blend traditional technology with modern technology. So preservation will be not just providing repository of knowledge, but you will have to have academic infrastructure created for dissemination of knowledge in a better manner. And this dissemination will not come only from teaching and publishing, but it will come from the development of perception of students on teaching and learning. And therefore, as we always used to say, that universities should show correct path for development of humanity as a whole. But as Dada kept on telling the world that it is not only the showing of correct path to the humanity, but we'll have to not only prepare for the future, but also we will have to mold the future. And in this particular manner, I think Dada's message to humanity probably will be, he used to always believe that the women are the core component of humanity. You take any activity that has been undertaken traditionally, it is women who are in the forefront of all the activities that provide not only livelihood to the human beings, but also create their future and position in this world. If you look at educating a man, Dada used to say that man as an individual will get educated, he will probably grow, he will also uh, make it a private property of himself. But what Dada felt that if you are able to educate a woman, then you are educating the entire family. And I think this is the pinpointing of root cause of the karmas of unpleasant nature. Dada always felt, don't shy away from the unpleasant experiences of your life. Because if you are avoiding that unpleasant experience, then it will repeat again. It will not give you an opportunity to learn from those unpleasant experiences or unpleasant uh, moments of your life. And therefore, there was a situation I was reading in one of the books of Dada, that a person who was rational, I will not call he was atheist, but he was a rational person, and he asked Dada that you talk about philosophy, you talk about God, you talk about love. Where does it really come from? How can you prove that all these things exist? And Dada asked him a simple question. I'm sure many of those who have been disciples of Dada know about it. And he asked this journalist a question that what do you think, what is between 1 and 2? Go and find out. The person was not able to understand what he was asking. But then, using his rational mind, he said that it is space between 1 and 2. There is nothing else in between the two numbers. But then Dada told him that that space is God. And that is how I define God. And therefore, in Hindu philosophy, as Dada believed, the omnipresent is everywhere. There is a pure positive energy vibrating everywhere. And in this timeless straight line called time. And therefore, Dada said, as now also we heard him talking about a rotten apple, but the seeds within the apple are the hope for the future. And people always felt the young generation, they would be suppressed, and you will be able to develop economies of the world based on suppressing the economies of the developing countries. But Dada, through his philosophy, said, you look everywhere, you look at nature, you look at every tree, and that every tree is a Shiva. Every Every seed is a creator. That is what the philosophy Dada shared. And therefore, every bit in nature is throbbing in vibration. Somebody, made a statement that people wanted to bury us, but they did not know that we are seeds and we are going to come out of the ground after they bury us. So this is the philosophy with which Dada believed that linkages of science and technology is the direct relevance of Dada's teaching, and we'll have to imbibe those qualities in the young generation so that they will make their own future in a way that we envisage them. Secondly, probably we'll have to look at Dada's teaching in addressing the livelihood security issues, because in today's world, even after the post-pandemic, we will not be in a position to provide solutions to the basic requirement of human beings like hunger and providing them enough for their survival. And therefore, we'll have to look at knowledge base created within the institutions. How do we take them to the land? And how do you make people involved in this particular activity so that if you are able to have a parivartan in society based on Dada's teaching, we'll have to look at economic, environmental, socio-cultural, cultural, intellectual, and physical aspects of our research and science base and education, which we will be in a position to implement as a conglomeration of Parivartan agenda, which we have learned from Dada's teaching. And therefore, Dada lived for 100 years. People always say that he lived for 100 years. I personally feel that Dada and people like Dada, they are never born or they are never gone. They basically visit the planet Earth for a particular period of time, and then they give us what they have within them, and they go to the eternal journey to probably look at some other aspects of the world. And that is how I look at Dada. Dada lives in each one of us who have understood him, who has read him, who has met him. And I really thank Mira College for girls for giving me this opportunity. And I'm sure it is only because of Dr. Manju Madam that the entire conglomeration of these institutions came to know little bit about me. And I feel very privileged to be with all of you. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Namaskar.
Thank you very much, sir. I think all our viewers may feel, wow, we could not have had a better keynote speaker who would be able to give us insights into Dada's vision of education as clearly as you have done, sir. Thank you so much. And I truly believe that you also feel that there is no greater joy nor any greater reward than taking forward Dada's vision of education. Thank you,
Absolutely.
sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I would now like to call upon Dr. Nanwani, who is the director of our Sadhu Vaswani Institutes of Learning, to introduce our next panelist, Dr. Manju Nichani, who is also an alumna of St. Mira's College.
Thank you, Dr. Gidwani. Uh, so here's a little note about Dr. Manju Nichani. Dr. Manju Nichani's journey as an academician has been epic. She has held positions of eminence and has been credited with bringing academic accolades, creating a culture of excellence and success at KC College, Mumbai, where she served as a principal. Currently, as you have heard from other people, she is the rector of Sadhu Vaswani Institutes of Learning, as also the director of Hiranandani Institute of Learning. Dr. Manju brings in a lot of passion, pragmatism, perfection to the art and craft of educational leadership. But to my mind, what has enriched her experiences, her learning, has been her deep connect, her strong relationship with Gurudev, Revered Dada J.P. Vaswani. I therefore call upon her to share with us her impressions of the master's thoughts on education. Over to you, Dr. Nichani.
Thank you, Dr. Bhagwanti. I must say that I'm a very proud alumni of St. Mira's College. But when you are a third speaker, the 50% or 75% of what you want to speak has already been spoken by beloved Dada and Dr. Sanjay Deshmukh, because both has given us what a vision of education and what Dada stood for. But I take this opportunity to share my personal experiences of how Dada's teachings helped us in education. The first thing when Dada was asked, that what is that one gift a teacher can give a student? And Dada said, friendship. Who could be a better friend than Dada? I remember I was a student of St. Mira's College from 1969 to 1971. I had left my home and I was in the hostel, but Dada became a friend. I could go and tell him anything. Do you not think that there cannot be a greater need of a friend in education today than it was ever before? Today we are having a lot of online learning, a learning which is without a face-to-face contact. It's a great way because under the current circumstances, there is no other way but to have online. But let me tell you that many students call me up and tell me that we are missing that personal contact, that connect with the teacher. This is what Dada had said many years ago, that a teacher has to be a mentor. Today you look at the Western world and they say that all the information is available in the books. The role of the teacher is to mentor and guide the students. So Dada played a great role. He was a principal of the college. He taught us, I think I was in F5BA, what was inter in Bombay University. He taught us civilization science. And I remember every word of what he taught because his methodology of his teaching was so practical and the examples he gave were so relevant. He also said that you can judge a tree by its fruits. The kind of students are today we have is the fruit. What kind of seeds have we sown? Didn't he give us an example of the apple, that you can make the best use of the seeds that you have sown, and teachers put in those seeds. He believed that teachers must emphasize on the creativity of the student. Let them be what they are. You can just not, knowledge is important, information is important, but also the wisdom to understand how to use this knowledge is also very, very relevant. Let me tell you that my first connect to the mission, when I had never seen anybody, was when I was in the 9th or the 8th standard, and there was a lesson which was called Sadhu Vaswani. I didn't know the mission, I didn't know, but there was one line in which it was written, it was a Hindi lesson, which said, plants also have life. Phoolon mein bhi jaan hai. As a kid, when I used to go, I used to break all the flowers which used to come to my way when I was running to the school. But after I read this line, every time I touched the flower, I said, Phoolon mein bhi jaan hai. Am I taking a line? That was my first impression of Dada. Today, we talk of environment. Dada's environmental studies were so simple. Phoolon mein bhi jaan hai. Today, you say cutting trees and all that is an environmental issue. Dada taught us environment in such a simple way that as a child of 8th or 9th standard, I was made to feel that plants have life, and that is what we need today. We also learned from Dada. He said that, we have many branches today, but where are the roots? He believed that roots are very important. If you get strong roots and strong wings, once the roots are strong, whatever you teach them, Dada gave you that there is a very important need to blend Indian ideals with international education. He was not conservative to say, no, don't go abroad. He said, yes, you must know the world, but be rooted to your own ideals. Your own ideals are very important. One day, I was telling him, Dada, there is so much corruption and how will it go? And he looked at me. And first time I saw him looking at me very focused and said, you can change. And I asked myself, how can I? He said, the teachers can change. Teachers have the power to change. Therefore, what we really need is men and women of character. He said, teachers should have character. And he repeatedly said that character is not taught, it is caught. and his hope was the teachers. I tell you that sometimes these simple things play a very important role. We have started a school in Manjri, which is for poor people, and his Dada's dream was seva and education. He said, so that project fulfills both. It's totally free, where we give them free breakfast, free lunch, free transport, free uniform, and everything. And we give them a value of the month. And one value of the month was to share is to care. And the children were taught that you have to share whatever you have. One day, one parent came. They're quite poor people, and he came and told the teacher, "Tumhe kai shikotar? What have you taught?" I bought a box of pencil for my son, and this child, when I came in the evening and asked him where are the pencils, he said, "I've given it to all my friends." He said, "Why did you give it to your friends?" He said, "Because I have learned in my school to share is to care." How that simple teaching, that simple word of the teacher can, at that child, that's why Dada said that it is only the children who can learn from the mother at home and from the teacher at school. Dada's teachings are so relevant today. I feel they were always relevant, but they couldn't have been more relevant than what they are today. He taught that service is a very integral part of the whole education. Today, when we are seeing this people's need, we find that so many of our students come forward and serve the poor. They don't take care. We have the mission has so many of their alumni coming and doing service. So often I wonder, they don't care for their health, but they believe that seva is what has been inculcated as a value in them. And these values, which are inculcated in childhood, grow up, and somehow or the other, you grow. Another thing which taught me, with Dada's teaching has had an impact on me, was he always said that opposite of love is not hate, because hate is an emotion. Opposite of love is apathy, indifference. We today think, and we don't teach people sympathy or empathy. Today we feel, as long as it is not happening to me, why am I bothered? That is apathy. And Dada said that if you really want the society to teach people empathy. They don't need allopathy, they don't need homeopathy, they need sympathy and empathy. And I think to take Dada's teaching further, we have our institutions all over India, in Ahmedabad, Baroda, Rajkot, Bangalore, Hyderabad, and of course many in Pune, where a humble effort is made to pass on the teachings of the beloved master, because Dada's hope is, as you said, that India is the youngest country with the youngest generation. Dada's hope is the new generation. And I am sure that this new generation will carry on Dada's teachings far beyond. And let me tell you, sir, and let me tell you, friend, that we do have teachers and principals who have been themselves the students of Dada, and they therefore believe that it is they who are going to carry, and they train the next generation to carry out Dada's teachings. These teachings will be a part of Mira culture. These teachings will be a part of the learning that we do. And before I really end, let me tell you that Dada gave us a lot of advice. I always wanted to be a lawyer. And Dada encouraged me to do law. He said, yes, you must be a lawyer. You must know your rights. But he said that whenever you know your right, Manju, you must know your duty, because rights without duties have no meaning. He said, today we talk of our rights, but we have forgotten our duties. And Dada, when he came to KC College once, and a question was asked for him, Dada, what is that one teaching you want to leave with us? And Dada said, do your duty and a little more. Do your duty and a little more. So Dada believed that each one of us must do our duties. So he said, talk of your rights, know your rights, but know your duties far more than your rights. But what has happened today, that we talk in terms of our rights, but we forget our duties. If we balance if we balance between our rights and duties, I can assure you that you will have a wonderful, wonderful system. And when I told him that, Dada, should I do, I got a job in the law company, and I sent him a letter. And I told him, Dada, you'll be happy to know that I have got a job as a lawyer. I was doing part-time job at KC College then and doing my law. Dada wrote to me. Mind you, he had encouraged me to do law. But he wrote to me, the more I think of it, the more I know you are at the right place doing the right thing. If you do law, you will make money. If you teach, you will make people. Go make people, dear Manju. I took that, and that was a 40 years long journey in my teaching career. And wherever it was possible, we tried to implement Dada's teachings. I know that every end of my lecture, I used to tell my students, because when I knew that they commit suicide, I always told them that Dada had taught us to accept success and failure the same way. He said, we have taught our children to accept success, but we have not taught them to accept failure, and that is why they commit suicide. They cannot face challenges. True education system, true teacher teaches the students that life is not only for livelihood, but education is for life, and therefore learn to accept the challenges of life. I do hope that our students will grow in the spirit of learning to accept challenges of life, because now what is happening that each one is going to face so many challenges: the challenge of unemployment, the challenge of health, the challenge of depression. And Dada's teachings, I'm sure as the sunrise in the east, will go a long way in helping all of us to tide this wave very beautifully and very happily. I thank you for having me here, and I'm sure that Dada's teachings will live forever, ever, and ever. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much, dear Manju. I am amazed that you have so much to share, and Dada's teachings are such. No matter whether you're the first or the second or the last speaker, there is still so much more to give. And I have always felt that Manju is so eloquent and she has so many memories of Dada. She must write a book of memoirs on Dada. I have always told her that. Thank you, Manju, for being with us and for
Thank
sharing
you.
your insights.
Thank you.
And now, it is my privilege and my honor to introduce to you the next panelist of the day. She may be the last panelist, but she will have a lot more to add to this discussion. In what words may I describe her? A follower, a devotee, a believer, all of these and more. She is none other than the working chairperson of Sadhu Vaswani Mission, Didi Krishna Kumari. She left her house at the tender age of barely 3 and came and lived under the fountain of love of 2 stalwart masters, revered Dada J.P. Vaswani and his guru, Sadhu Vaswani. Having completed her entire education, right up to her master's, under the valuescape of these 2 masters, and having imbibed their vision, she chose not to work. She chose to dedicate all she had and all she is to the service of the Master, whom she served with singular devotion, so much so that her one mantra became Ik tu hi tu, ik tu hi tu, ik tu hi tu. Every beat of her heart beats with that one mantra. Saint Kabir, in one of his slokas, said, what is the difference between the Paras and the Guru? Paras Guru ko antaro, yahi to antarjan, Paras loha sona kare, Guru kare aap saman. And so it is with Didi Krishna Kumari. She has lived imbibe Dada's vision, Dada's teaching so much that when she speaks, it is his words. When she dreams, it is his vision. So much that we do not know where one ends and the other begins. But these, what I'm saying, are mere words. And truly, words are so inadequate to describe something that cannot be defined. It's better we listen to Didi Krishna Kumari.
Just unmute Christian, we can't hear her.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Oh, so you didn't hear me all this time?
Not at all.
Okay, sorry. I'll just begin again.
Sure.
Namaskars to every one of you. I feel deeply grateful to Dr. Gulshan Gidwani, the principal of St. Mira's College, which is a flagship institute of the Sadhu Vaswani mission. It was her privilege. She's also the alumni of the Sadhu Vaswani School of the St. Mira's College. And it was beloved Dada himself who chose her as the principal who will lead the college. In fact, he would literally groom her and he would motivate her and see that she carries on the work with that dedication, because he saw that hidden spark in her, which we all are seeing today. Sir, we feel deeply grateful to you for having consented to join us on this beautiful occasion when we are commemorating the 102nd birthday of our revered master, Dada J.P. Vaswani. When I heard you speaking, the entire scene of your meeting with Dada just flashed before my eyes, and I could relive every moment of that meeting which we had at the NCPA apartments. And Dr. Manju Nichani, I feel grateful to you. Whatever I have to say, as Dr. Gulshan said, believe me, I am not capable even of speaking one word to you. Last night, I said to Dada, Dada, tomorrow is this duty that I have to perform. It is you who are going to speak through this broken instrument. So let me just speak a few broken words to you today. Both our masters, revered Sadhu Vaswani and revered Dada J.P. Vaswani, they firmly believed that it is only education that emphasizes on spiritual unfolding, an education that trains not only the head, but along with it, the hand and also the heart. It is only such type of education that can transform the world. An education that will sensitize the students to the realities of life. This is very important. Sensitize the students to the realities of life and make them aware of their role to rebuild the world. For today, the world is shattered, it is torn, and it is this younger generation who has to rebuild the world. A delegation of students came to meet revered Sadhu Vaswani years back in Hyderabad, Sindh. And after their initial discussion, they asked revered Sadhu Vaswani for his message. And what did Sadhu Vaswani say to them? Sadhu Vaswani said to them, "You and such as you are the hope of the future. The future is in your hands." How true it is that the youth, they represent the future of the society, of the country, of the nation. We have to invest in them. They are the hope of humanity. They are the architects of a new world order. But to achieve this, education has to play a very pivotal role. We have to bring forth bands of students who will be inspired, who will be ready to take up this challenge and offer their lives for the growth of the country, for the growth of the world. Beloved Dada said to us, intellectual development is very, very, very necessary. It can never be ignored. But along with it, we have to mold the minds and awaken the hearts of our students. The minds of students, they are like plastic. They have to be molded. They have to be shaped rightly. We have to be conscious of the shape and the form that we want to give to their minds. And of course, we can never, never neglect their hearts. Their hearts have to be aligned with God. One day, we were sitting with beloved Dada on the seaside. Beloved Dada was very fond of the sea, and he would spend hours just sitting and gazing at the sea. And he saw there were some children playing with the sand. Looking at them, Dada said, when we are sitting close to the sea, we do not have to ask for open air. We do not have to ask for fresh breeze. We do not have to ask for the refreshing spray. Similarly, if the children are aligned to God, if they are close to God, then they will be conferred, they will be bestowed with the gifts of stability, of joy, of peace, of abundance, of giving, of sacrifice. Problems and hurdles will not deter them. They will be strong in the strength of God. That is the role that education has to play today. Both our masters, revered Sadhu Vaswani and revered Dada J.P. Vaswani, were greatly accomplished. Promising careers were open to them, but they chose to live a life of service and sacrifice. One day, as you all know, Dada was the principal of the St. Mira's College. One day, a student comes and asks Dada, to us, these degrees, these PhDs, these MBAs, these MPhils, they are passports. They are passports to wealth, to career, to opportunity, to success. How can we walk away from this hard-earned road of success? And Dada said to them, you do not have to walk away from your hard-earned road of success. You are not asked to do that, but you should be only aware of this one great ideal, that to live is to give. The more you give, the more you live. And today, Dada always said, especially in these times, Dada would still say this one thing to us, that what India needs, yes, it needs infrastructure, it needs healthcare upgradation, it needs sound economic policies, but above all, it needs soldiers, it needs servants of the country, students who are ready to take up that challenge and come forward and serve the country. Today, education has merely become a race to acquire grades, careers, achievements. When we were in America, a professor of the Stanford University came to meet Dada, and he said, I have studied your philosophy of education, and I truly agree with you that only intellectual development is not an answer. And Dada said to him, yes, true education is not merely acquisition of knowledge that binds you to degrees, to careers, to job opportunities, but true education is that which empowers you to make the right choices. It broadens your horizons. It links you with the entire creation, and above all, it sets you free. The purpose of true education is not just information, but it is transformation. The purpose of education is not just scaling material heights, but it is to go within and to unfold the hidden powers that are locked up within each and every one of us. How true it is. Therefore, we have to pay attention to the core that builds, that sustains, that binds, that strengthens. And this has to start at a very early age. For this, the teachers as well as the parents have to play a very important role. As I said earlier, children, they are like sponge. They absorb everything that they see, everything that they hear, and therefore the teachers and parents have to be very, very, very careful. Today, we value things that can be measured, but we fail to value things that cannot be measured. Timeless values that have no expiry date, these should be nurtured in the children. Speaking the truth will never go out of fashion. Kindness and compassion will never go out of style. It is these values that should be inculcated in our students. Today's success is determined by high positions, fat salaries, fast cars. Yes, all these are very, very, very important. But along with this, the heart of the pupils has to be developed. Today, we try to fashion our children into models of intelligence, smartness, competition. We must do it, but along with it, we must not fail to develop in them values, ethics, love for service, kindness, compassion, purity of heart, mind, and soul. Beloved Dada often said to us, life is a school, but mark my words, there is a difference between life and school. Life is a school, but in school, first you're taught and then you're given examinations. But in life, first you're tested, and it is through those tests that you learn. Therefore, every school, every educational institution should be an institution which trains the children to be able to face life. It should train the children the true art of living so that these children can pass the examination of life. For life comes up with so many challenges, so many hurdles, so many tensions, so many stresses. And it is education, it is the right teachers, the right parents that can empower these children. Let me narrate to you a beautiful story which beloved Dada said to us once. He was a master storyteller. He told us the story of Srijan Pal Singh, who was an activist and a close associate of Dr. Abdul Kalam. When Srijan Pal Singh, he graduated from an IIM, he came to Dr. Abdul Kalam. He was puffed up with pride because he had received a gold medal from an IIM, a prestigious IIM, and he had come to Dr. Abdul Kalam because he wanted to do a 2-month internship in the Dr. Abdul Kalam Academy. He had already been offered a very prestigious job in America. So when he comes to Dr. Abdul Kalam looks at him and he smiles and he says to him, so you have a degree and you also have a medal. Does that assume that you're educated, you're intelligent, and you're recognized? The student nodded his head. And Dr. Abdul Kalam said, yes, you have been blessed with intelligence. You have received the gift of education. You have received the recognition of a gold medal. But don't you think it is your duty to use all the three to serve humanity, to serve your country, to serve society? And Srijan Pal's life changed forever. He gives up the job and he joins Dr. Abdul Kalam in his foundation. And he has authored a book which is a bestseller, and it is dedicated to Dr. Abdul Kalam. The title of the book is What I can give. Because Dr. Abdul Kalam's favorite quotation was that great people ask what I can give, but ordinary mortals, they ask, what can I take? It is with this in view that our revered master Sadhu Vaswani started the Mira movement in education with just 2 paisa coin in his hands. But that firm determination, he just didn't want to have an additional educational institution to the many which already existed, but he just wanted to inspire students so that they grow to understand that life is larger than livelihood and that the end of knowledge is not jobs and careers, silver and gold, but service and sacrifice. The root of education, he said, is reverence, and the fruit of education, he said, is service. One day we were sitting with our beloved Dada and we said to him, Dada, many times you have given us the 5 principles of education, but today the times are different. How do you think, what is the essence of that true education of which you talk about? And Dada gave us a set of 5 points. I will just mention them to you because the time is already over. The first he said is that education should convey the message of simplicity. The second he said, it should convey the message of service. The third he said, we should avoid the cult of pale imitation. Fourthly, education should go beyond science. It should go beyond control of matter to self-control. And last, he said, but not the least, true education should connect us with God, the powerhouse of all that is. A small boy who was really tired of the lockdown, he said to his father, Papa, earlier, I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to go to so many classes. I was continuously being shuttled from my tennis class, from my music class, from my tuition class to another. And today, when I want to go out, you're not even permitting me to go out for a few minutes. What is the reason? And the father tells the child, he had to do some quick thinking. So he tells the child, my dear son, the world is under renovation. Yes, my friends, this period is, the world is under renovation. And the child, he begins to dance. The child says, so when the renovation is over, when the world reopens, we will have a brighter world, a better world, a radiant world. Yes, that is the role of education, to give to us a brighter world, a new world, a radiant world. And that is the hope that our masters, revered Sadhu Vaswani and Dada J.P. Vaswani, had in education. And I'm sure with the humble effort that is being done by all the staff, the teachers, the heads, and the students in these institutions, we will produce a generation of students that will bear witness to the ideals and the dreams, the aspirations of our beloved masters. Let us take back the message of revered Dada J.P. Vaswani, which he often summed up in a few words. Turn back to your root values. Turn back to your root values. Turn back to your root values. I thank you, Dada Sham.
Thank you, Didi Krishna Kumari. It is always, always, always so enlightening, so uplifting to listen to you. And like I mentioned earlier, your words are his words. We do not know where your words end and his words begin. Thank you. I would now call upon Dr. Nanwani to sum up the meeting.
So now a word of gratitude. Gratitude to all the participants for tuning in to this very beautiful program. It may well be said that, try ignorance if you want to know the importance of education, may I dare say that much as education is important, if education is sans values, if education lacks the correct purpose, the correct process, the correct methodology, and the correct content, then such education is bound to ruin the social and the moral fabric of a nation. Thank you, dear panelists, for bringing forth the simple yet very powerful vision of Revered Dada J.P. Vaswani. It is this vision that can truly change the destiny, not just of India, but of all the countries in the world. And I hope sense and wisdom prevails on all educational policymakers, educationists, and students alike. Education today is at the crossroads, and a sensible, sensitive educationist and an astute leader like Dr. Gidwani can always be credited to bringing to discussion a topic of this kind of relevance. It's truly amazing that St. Mira's comes up with fascinating endeavors in bringing to fruition the mission and the vision of our masters. Thank you, Dr. Deshmukh. It was so refreshing, sir, to revisit Dada's vision on education seen through your lens. I could imagine the magic he created on you in just one single meeting. So if he were to meet educational policymakers, I'm sure we would have a renovated world that Didi Krishan just spoke about. Respected Didi Krishan, the custodian and the torchbearer of the spiritual wealth and wisdom of Revered Dada J.P. Vaswani, gave us a blueprint of a truly meaningful education. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Nichani, and thank you once again, Dr. Gidwani, for such a wonderful program. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Deshmukh, for really joining us. It was such a joy to see you after a big, long gap.
Thank you very much. I would definitely like to come and meet you.
We are looking forward to greeting you here at the campus.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for consenting to be a part of this beautiful program. Thank you.
It's a privilege to be with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Gulshan. Gulshan? Where are you, Gulshan? Hello? We are off. Huh? You off?
I think Principal Ma'am got disconnected.
Okay, Gulshan, thank you for a beautiful program, dear. Why were you playing hide and seek?
Ma'am, I think Krishna Ma'am, she's got disconnected.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I think she is not hearing us.
Okay,
I
okay.
can't see her on the screen.
Fine. Okay, okay. You just tell her that we thanked her, okay?
Yes, surely.
Thank you, Didi. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. Take care. Dada Sham. Thank you, Bhagwanti.
It was lovely seeing you after so long.
Gulshan has come out again?
No.
No, this is
because I don't
as
have
a
my
co-host.
glasses.
Yeah.
Just as a co-host. Lovely seeing you and hearing you. It was such a beautiful message.
Take care. Dada Sham.
Dada Sham.
Dada Sham Didi.
Dada Sham, Supriya, Dada Sham. So nice to see all of you all.
Thank you, Didi. Nice to see you too.
Thank you.